have a unique relationship with Sword Chronicles. A long time ago, when time was ephemeral and the Song of the World had not reached its crescendo, 2019, I was on my local Mongolian erotic throat singing board of TG when I started working on a Song of Ice and Fire role-playing game. 2. The game, the original one anyway, came out in 2009 and was immediately regarded as pretty okay. It had a comfortable niche from Green Ronin, everyone's favorite other TTRPG developer. What it lacked in straight quality, it made up for in its flavor and its IP. People still cite the house creation charts as being some of the best, and I have a fond memory of working with my friends with it. But in that thread, I wrote a Song of Ice and Fire role-playing 2, fixed up some of the jank, converted the system over to a slightly easier one to understand, and added all of the expansions people were promised and never received, and it was where I earned my name. It eventually morphed into Blood, Coin, and Steel, but why am I talking about this? Because Sword Chronicles came out in 2020 and is the great value brand of the Song of Ice and Fire role-playing game by the same company. I don't hear people talk about it all that much, and whenever I do hear someone, it's almost always in the same sentence as Game of Thrones and its RPG, but let's break it down a little bit. At its core, it's a D6 additive dice pool system, being a skill tribute system as well. You'll take a number of your dice and roll them all, hoping to beat a target number. Most characters average out to 3 and 4, and a few skills with those lacking with a 2, and others excelling with a 5 and 6 in a few of them. However, these can be increased exponentially. And that's a majority of the game, to be honest. But then we start getting into some of the nitty-gritty, so I'll do some quick things of why this game is a little odd. Skill tributes mean that everything shares the same fucking billing. Increasing your persuasion, thievery, or animal handling is on the same caliber as fighting or agility, which means that characters have to make the same call as they did all those years ago. Optimize and break the game, or don't optimize and feel very left out. Most of the original problems of the game remain. Some have been changed slightly, but the basic premise remains in place. Optimizing a character means doing better than everyone else at that, but the game doesn't handle optimizing well. Now, of course, there have been fixes. Combat is a bit better balanced with some armor fixes, and instead of rampant rocket tag, it's not quite as rocket tag, but they even added sorcery. Unfortunately, sorcery is bonkers, and it's a bit all over the place. Tread carefully if you want to make a wizard. The best way to word Sword Chronicles is that it is a better game, fixing some small issues and problems, but there's 2 issues that kneecap it. The first is that it's awful looking. I don't know what Z team they brought in, but this game looks terrible. It's hard to describe in a video, but the art is all over the place and quality formatting is really wonky, for me at least, and it was just hard to read. Let's take a look at Deception. Look at it. It's very clear that you can easily break it apart. The font is larger, it clearly highlights what its specialties are for quick reference. Even acting, which is under it, is pretty easy to read. Sword Chronicle has most things almost word for word the same, even down to one being exactly word for word, but the font blends together with that just blue line with specialties blending into some of the background. Even act is a lot harder to read. This is throughout the entire book, where the original had pronounced looks and typefaces and distinguishable art. Sword Chronicles kind of blends everything together, making it difficult to parse through if you even can parse through it. Which leads me to Sword Chronicles' largest issue, an overbearing one that in my original video I talked about how I loved the original game because it brought you into that world. Being such a hyper-thematic world carried it farther than anything else. Sword Chronicles loses that. House creation rules are there, lose a bit of oomph when you're no longer in the North or the Westerlands, but you're in generic Fantasyland number 2, or God forbid the Shattered Era setting in the back of the book, all 10 pages of it, they feel completely embarrassed about, because they added the ability to play fantasy races in the game, but who really cares? It just all feels like padding rather than a natural extension to the system. I think the largest issue with Sword Chronicle is that it repeats a lot of the same sins of the original without really the exciting selling points to tie it all together. Could they fix it? Maybe, but I doubt they will in their current trajectory. It looks more like an obligation and they have delivered on it. Maybe one of these expansion books makes it interesting, but I don't know, nor do I care to look into it more. My name is Notepad, and this was Sword Chronicle. If you like what I do here, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Many thanks to the Iron Bank for their continued support. Godspeed, good luck, and what the fuck is that?